and gentlemen, episode 5, The Ronin. Oh, it's your boy Icon with some Marvel TV. And I'm going to say right out the gate, what's the girl name? Elena, the Black Widow's sister. So she's back. We saw her in the last episode. She popped up, and now we get her backstory about how she came to this point. For those who didn't watch the Black Widow movie, it shows her and another former Black Widow. It shows the two of them breaking into this other girl's house who is also a widow, and them trying to use the chemical compound to snap her out of being brainwashed and bring her mind back, the same way that they freed all the widows in the movie. But this one particular girl, she actually wasn't brainwashed. She just liked killing for money. And the three of them are having a conversation. They're talking, and then she's just like, "Oh, you're out there trying to free all the widows." And then she was like, "Yes, we are." She's like, "It is very difficult, but it is so worth it." And then she gets up and then she goes into the bathroom. When she goes into the bathroom, it shows the moment where she got snapped out of existence, but it also shows the moment where she came right back. And then 5 years had gone by. When she comes back 5 years later, she sees, like her friend is still living in the house. So I guess she didn't disappear. Her friend is living in the house. She has a husband, and they adopted a child. That's going to be very awkward when that little girl's parents gets brought back to existence. And then she comes out because remember, the Black Widow movie takes place before Avengers Endgame. It's right before Avengers Endgame, so it shows Black Widow on her way to go meet up with Captain America to join the Infinity War, Endgame, situation. So after that, then Elena was just like, oh, she was like, I have to call Natasha. She's like, I have to find out what happened to Natasha. And then obviously Natasha died. And then that's when we get the scene in the Black Widow movie where, like the chick from Captain America, Falcon Winter Soldier shows up and gives her the file on Hawkeye, telling her that Hawkeye is the one responsible for killing her sister. So now that we fast forward to like current times, because remember Kate in the last episode, Hawkeye had told her to basically leave. He was just like, yo, this issue just got real. There's a Black Widow assassin coming to get us, and it's over for you, Kate. Take your ass home. So Kate goes home. She starts crying, she's talking to her mom. And I said in the last episode, in my last review, I did say that because of everything that's happening with the mom and everything that's happening, with the boyfriend and everything, I kind of flipped it now to the point where, and I said that I feel like at this point, the mom is actually the bad guy and not so much the boyfriend. And I feel like I was proven right by the end of this episode. So Kate's talking to her mom, and then she's crying, and she's like, oh, Clint protected me and then told me to take my ass home. and then her mom's talking to her. Her mom gave her a hug, and she's like, don't worry, sweetie. And then that's when Kate was just like, listen, Mom, she said, I got something to tell you. She said that Clint and I were looking into your boyfriend, and we found some things that we don't think you're going to like. But she said that I know, like, you love him and you guys are getting married. But she said, like, but for me, at the very least, can you look into him and look into the stuff that Clinton and I had found? And then the mom was just like, sure. And she was very nonchalant about it. It was almost like she knew all this and it didn't even faze her. Hell, in the very next episode, the mom had called the cops on the boyfriend and got him locked up and sent to prison. And I'm like, did you get him locked up because you're trying to take the cops off of your scent? It's like, because of the information that Kate provided you allowed you to pin everything on your fiance. Like, I feel like the mom is like the mastermind, under the mastermind behind this whole thing, which would be very awkward if she is, because Kate's been trying to take her down since the very beginning. So now, but then, after she hugged her, whatever, before she called the cops on her boyfriend, she told Kate, she was like, oh, go get your things and come back home, dear. So then Kate goes home to get her stuff. And then here comes the scene that made me want to take my eyes and poke them out with a spoon, because Natasha's sister, Black Widow's sister, she showed up in Kate's apartment. And she was just like, oh, Kate Bishop, she's like, I've been waiting for you. Do you want a mac and cheese? And it just started like this whole, I hated this whole scene. The whole scene of both of them talking, the entire scene of them, until they started talking about the actual point. She was telling Kate, she was just like, oh, like Clint Barton, he's a bad person. And then why does everybody forgive his misdeeds? And then like he kills people and blah, blah, blah. Like everything before this was so bad. And I say this all the time, and it's just like, so far I like Hawkeye. I'm enjoying Hawkeye. But this forced comedy, like, it needs to stop because it's like the scene wasn't funny. Like the scene really wasn't funny, and it went on for too long. It's just like it. This was like I ignore a lot. You know what I'm saying? But geez, Louise, like this was really bad. But anyway, so after all the BS, we end up getting to, and the only thing about it that I actually thought was interesting is because so far Kate, she's always been the one who's been talking and she's been making jokes and she's been the annoying one and blah blah blah. So it's actually funny to see someone else be the annoying person to her. It's like the whole time Kate was just sitting there looking pissed off and annoyed. I said, yeah, that's how we feel when we listen to you. So, but anyway, so anyway, after that, she was just, like Kate tried, and the funny thing is, and the whole time, like, Elena was just like, oh, she was like, Clint Barton, he's evil and he's a bad person. And then Kate was just like, no, he helps people. He's a good man. She never asked her, what did he actually do to you? Because she was just like, oh, he betrayed my sister. And Kate was never like, how? What did he do? Tell me the story. Because I'm pretty sure had Elena actually told her the story, and to be honest with you, I don't even know the story. Like, we don't even know the story. Like, this woman gave her a file and said, oh, do you want to kill the man responsible for killing your sister? And that was it. She never actually explained to the audience what he did to quote unquote cause his sister's death. So technically speaking, we don't know what her motivation is and why she got beef. We just know that she got beef because somebody put the battery in her back to have beef, and then she said that I've been tracking your mother, tracking somebody to see who's in charge and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so then, she goes, she's like, I'm going to kill Hawkeye. And she's like, Kate Bishop, please get out of my way unless you want to die. So she jumps out the window. So then after that, it says she jumps out the window. Kate goes home, the mom arrests the boyfriend. And then, that's when Kate gets on the computer and she tracks, like Hawkeye's phone. So now Hawkeye himself, he went back to the black dude's apartment and they went out of nowhere to let us know that, the white girl came by the other day and she brought the costumes for you and Kate. Do you want to see them? And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like, they did the same thing. Man, what did they did the same thing in Captain America, like Falcon Winter Soldier, when, not when Bucky told Wakanda, like, I need to do me a favor. The scene where the Spanish dude was like, oh, what do you want me to do with these Falcon wings that are now broken that you can't use? And then he was like, keep them. Obviously, he's going to fix them and become the new Falcon. So, so the worst foreshadowing of all time with those costumes. So now in episode 6, both Clint and Kate are gonna have brand new matching outfits. So we'll wait for that. Hopefully the outfits don't suck. So then Clint he went to Natasha. Well, it wasn't Natasha Memorial. It was basically a memorial plaque that had all the names of the Avengers that saved New York. And, Natasha's name was on one of them. Clint spoke to the plaque, and then he was just like, I played our situation over and over, how I could make things different. But he was just like, I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to honor you. But he said, but before I do that, please forgive me for what I'm about to do. So that night, I forgot the girl, Amaya. Amaya, she was in the parking lot. And while Amaya was in the parking lot, Clint basically ran up on her and beat her ass in the Ronin costume. And after he beat her ass in the Ronin costume, he took the hood off and took the mask off. And then Amaya saw that it was him. And that's what Clint wanted. Clint wanted her to see his face. He even told her, he said, I wanted you to see me, to know who I am, to know that I was responsible for, for killing your daddy, because your daddy was doing some dirt. He was doing some dirt ass shit, like your dad was a bad person and I killed him. And then he was just like, listen, and then after he took her out, she was like, oh, are you going to kill me? And he was just like, nope. He said, I'm not going to kill you. But he said that if you harm any member of my family, please believe that'll be the last thing you ever do in your entire life. And then he left it at that. Hawkeye then said to Kate, he was just like, oh, the person that hired me is your current boss. Like, your boss wanted your father dead. And then she was like, no, you're a liar. And then he was like, oh, I'm telling the truth. And then she got mad. She ended up like getting the better because she caught him with his guard down. She got the better of him. She knocked Clint down. She got the sword out of his hand. She picked up the sword. And just when she was about to chop his head off, then Kate came out of nowhere. She shot, the sword out of her hand with the bow and arrow. And then after she shot then after that, then Clint dipped and left Kate on the roof. And I was just like, that was grime. But the two of them, like, they linked up. They jumped in an Uber. And then they went back to the house. So now Amaya has to deal with the whole thing about her boss, being the person who actually killed her father. And she's now left with the whole thing of whether or not she's going to take out her revenge in that regard, because it actually wasn't, Clint did the deed, but her boss was the one that like tipped him off and paid him to do it. And then in the final scene, so Clint is like, so they're both at the house now. And while they're at the house, they're with the black dude talking, they're all eating that good old soul food, like chitlins and mac and cheese, whatever. And then while they're talking, Elena ended up following, Kate's mom. And then after she followed her mom, she took a picture of her mom, basically just letting her know like, oh, Kate Bishop, this is the person who hired me. And I thought she was talking about the mom. Like, I still feel like she's talking about the mom. Like, I feel like the mom's the bad guy and the mom's the one behind this whole thing. And then when Kate showed Clint the picture, Clint was just like, oh, that's what I was afraid of. And then she was like, what? She was like, who's this guy with my mom? And then he was like, that's the Kingpin. And then that's how the episode ended. And I wish I was more excited about the Kingpin thing, because first of all, it is very nice to see him, especially the actor who played Kingpin. It is nice to see him hopefully return, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Whether or not they actually show him in the season finale, I don't know. But so many people talked about it. So many people talked about the Kingpin thing. They spoke about it so much that when it finally happened and I saw it, I was just like, but because in this day and age, it's very hard to be surprised by things. And I would have been more emotionally invested in it had I been surprised when I saw the photo. But I knew it was going to happen based on like chatter and things I heard on the internet. So like I said, but at the same time, it was still cool to see him. And I hope he does show up in the season finale, because people try to act like, like Luke Cage, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Daredevil. Like they try, like it's the whole thing where the television shows always reference the movies, but the movies never reference the TV shows, and I always thought like that was very lame, because Marvel likes to claim like, oh, all of our shows are on one earth, but your movies never like to acknowledge, like your smaller screen products. So with that being said, if we can get the Kingpin in here, and then if Daredevil, I've already been spoiled about Spider-Man, with Daredevil coming back. So, hopefully, like I said, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. can finally be mentioned and get the recognition that they deserve. We'll get Luke Cage back. We'll get, Cloak and Dagger, like, like all these Marvel properties. Like, let's stop pretending these people don't exist, because DC, like, multiverse wise, they're killing it. DC has, like different Earths, different versions of every character, and they don't have a problem with their characters like interacting, enjoying each other. Now, we got Ezra Miller and Grant Gustin, both Flashes, together on one show at one point. So like I said, it could definitely happen. And like I said, hopefully this will be the door from the Marvel side of it. So that was it. And thank you for tuning in. So one more episode of Hawkeye to go, and then we close the chapter on that. Once Hawkeye's over, we're basically just going to be doing Young Justice until January 11th comes, because that's when all the DC TV shows come back in January 11th, and we're going to review all of them as well. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out on Instagram. Hit me up on YouTube, where you can share your questions, comments, and or concerns. Let me know what you think's going to happen in the season finale of Hawkeye. What are you excited for? Are you excited to see their new costumes? Do you think the Kingpin's going to show up in the season finale? Tell us where we go from here. Does Amaya end up turning the tables and become a good guy? What about Elena and the Black Widow gang? Is that going to be a thing? As I said, share your thoughts, and we'll continue to discuss it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So until next time for the season finale of Hawkeye, we're going to be right here. And for the Ronin, chop it down, and I'm out this bitch.